The last couple of weeks have been really busy for Turo and car sharing. From Turo's extremely aggressive mileage and discount policy that's rolling out, to their horrendous review system, which, don't worry, I will be talking about, to the newest piece of news, which is that Uber Carshare is closing down. In today's video, we're actually going to be talking about that topic, which is the topic of Uber Carshare. We're going to be talking about what this is, why it ultimately shut down, and if you should be worried that Turo will soon share the same fate. So let's get started. But before we dive into all of that, I do want to remind you guys I have a brand new course out called the Car Buying Masterclass. You can get $50 off that purchase by using the code OFFER50. Or if you're more interested in the world of car sharing, you can check out my course, the Car Sharing Masterclass, and you can use my code OFFER100 to get $100 off that purchase. Now, don't mind me. I know that I am not in my normal filming spot. I'm actually currently in northern New Mexico in a house that I just bought yesterday, but more on that in another video. Today, this is about Uber Carshare. Now, what is Uber Carshare? Uber Carshare was a service offered by Uber where people rent out cars by the hour, day, or week, basically however long they need it, which is actually really cool, and it's a different approach than what Turo takes. But it's a similar approach to what Get Around and Hire Car take. Unlike Turo, where if you rent the car for 1 hour, 5 hours, or 24 hours, you're going to be paying for the full day. With Uber Carshare, you could rent it for 1, 5, or 6 hours, and you will only be paying for the amount of time that you use it. And like Turo, people renting out their cars on Uber Carshare are normal, everyday people like you and I. For Uber Carshare, you'd list your car, you would then get a smart lock and a GPS tracking device from Uber to put into your car, and then you'd be on your way. Now, Uber Carshare was implemented by Uber in their attempt to become a one-stop shop for all things travel. Uber essentially wanted you to be able to go on their Uber app and be able to not only book your taxi to and from the airport, but to also be able to book your flights, your hotels, and your rental car as well. Uber has been very clear about wanting to go in that direction, and Uber Carshare was very clearly a step in that direction. And not only was it their way of taking a step into the direction of creating a one-stop shop for all travel needs, but I also think it was Uber's way of taking a stab at a business model and thinking, oh, well, if they can do it, so can I. Uber Carshare really is sort of a hybrid between Turo and Get Around, because Get Around also gives you a locking system and GPS, and unlike Turo, where cars have to be 12 years old or newer with 130,000 miles or less, on Uber Carshare, cars can be 15 years old or newer with a market value of $50,000 or less with 200,000 miles or less. So the vehicle requirements on Uber Carshare are a bit looser than that of Turo, and are very similar to that of Get Around and Hire Car. And now in 2024, just about 2.5 years after Uber acquired a car sharing startup out of Australia for $105 billion, Uber has announced that they are shutting down their car sharing service. Now, even though Uber Carshare seemed to roll out more aggressively in Australia with their acquisition of a car sharing brand there, they did have Uber Carshare here in the United States, and they are also shutting it down here as well. They are shutting it down everywhere. So this isn't an Australia problem, this is an Uber Carshare problem. In the last few days, in an email to vehicle owners within the Uber Carshare ecosystem, they stated that the reason for this closure was high costs associated with insurance, vehicle repairs, and thefts. But in a different statement, Uber stated that they're going to put more of an emphasis on expanding existing partnerships with rental car companies like Avis, Hertz, and Budget. And I quote, "Over the last couple of years, we faced challenges on both the growth and profitability side of the business, with significant increases in costs associated with insurance, vehicle theft, and car repairs." This was quoted from an Uber spokesperson. So whenever it comes to why peer-to-peer car sharing didn't work out for Uber, it comes down to the fact that insurance and theft, as well as vehicle repairs, were simply far too high. And to be honest, I'm not surprised that this happened. But on the other hand, I am a little surprised. So I guess I'm undecided. And you know what? I think my confliction on where I stand with whether or not I'm surprised about this Uber Carshare closure or if I'm not surprised really comes down to the fact that I think if there was one company to be able to come into the car sharing space and find success, I probably would have guessed that that company would have been Uber. So I'm not surprised that somebody else failed at car sharing, but I am sort of surprised that Uber specifically couldn't make it work. And you know, I really think that this highlights the struggle of peer-to-peer car sharing and just how difficult it is to make this business model work. And you know, I think that this is a really clear shining example of why Turo has had to change their policies so much over the years, even to where some hosts feel like these policies don't serve them anymore. One of the reasons why I'm sitting here in northern New Mexico filming a video rather than in my studio is because I actually had a different video planned for today. It was a video that I filmed prior to me leaving, and I thought it was really applicable to some of the stuff that's going on with Turo currently, like the mileage limitation and discount policy that's currently rolling out, as well as Turo just being horrendously strict on reviews. Now, I do still plan on publishing that video either this week or next week, and I know that nobody has actually watched that video yet, but a lot of the topics that I talk about in this video are sort of applicable to this topic here, Uber Carshare closing. Because as you'll see in that video once it goes live, is that I talk about how Turo is constantly making changes, and most of these changes are met with resistance. And I, being somebody who's on the internet talking about Turo and car sharing, have been criticized in the past for being a bit of a devil's advocate when it comes to Turo policy changes. I try to view Turo policy changes not only from the lens of a host, which is what I am, but also from the lens of Turo and trying to figure out why they would make that Turo policy change in the first place. I oftentimes, even if I don't like them, can see why Turo makes the changes that they do. And I think Uber Carshare is a great example as to why. Car sharing is an extremely difficult business model to make work because of insurance. Insurance and damage claim costs with Turo is absolutely astronomical, and it shows this with their paperwork and filings that they've been reporting since they announced that they were wanting to go public. So all of this is public record at this point. And over years, Turo has spent an astronomical amount of money on claims and insurance-related expenses. And it has taken 10 years for Turo to get to the point where they've sort of begun to figure this out. Because if you look at Turo's financial records, they haven't always had it figured out. It was somewhat recent, like in the last few years, where Turo started to make more money and claims weren't eating them alive. But this change and this profitability came through things like requiring a deductible, limiting smoking fees, limiting late fees, limiting cleaning fees, being more strict with claims and which claims they accept, and for how much. These are changes that Turo has made over the years that, while I certainly don't like them, I can understand why they did, because they're ultimately what made Turo. So in short, it sucks that Uber Carshare is shutting down. Competition is a good thing, and I'm a big believer that in the car sharing space especially, Turo could use some competition, and I was personally excited to give Uber Carshare a go. But I do think that the closure of Uber Carshare is a testament that car sharing is a tough business model, and it really isn't as easy as a handful of people getting together and deciding that they're going to make a Turo competitor. Because again, if a multi-billion-dollar business can't make it work, well, then it really shows the difficulties of it. Now, what does all of this mean for Turo, and is this a bad omen for Turo and its future? And truthfully, I don't think so. And I think for most hosts throughout the United States, they're not going to really notice a difference from Uber Carshare closing. Because from a customer acquisition perspective, Uber Carshare hadn't rolled out to enough places in the United States to really put a dent in Turo's customer base. So I think from a guest perspective, we're not really going to see the difference there. Because Uber Carshare and Turo are just on completely different playing fields, I don't think the fact that Uber Carshare is closing means that Turo is going to follow suit. In fact, if anything, I think that it could end up being a good thing for Turo because of the fact that now Turo allows for gig workers to use Turo cars. So no, I don't think Turo is closing down anytime soon, and I think if push came to shove, if anything, this is a good thing for Turo, not a bad thing. But again, like I mentioned earlier, I do think that this really shows the complexities of a car sharing business model and how it is very difficult and costly to make a car sharing platform work. And because of the fact that Turo has plans to go public and there haven't been any changes to those plans in recent years, I would think that is a good thing all the way around, and I would be willing to bet that Turo isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.